Hi class. This is Mrs. Atwater, and as promised, here's the next link which will outline 4 tools you'll need in order to be successful in this English class this year. There are going to be some things that we do together which will be new for you, but you can bet that these 4 things will be constant. You'll always have a word wall to complete, and I'm going to go through and explain each one. But you'll always have a word wall. Each day there will be a question of the day or some quote that you have to kind of think through and discover its meaning. You will always have a read and respond, which basically means that you'll have a reading and you have some questions to answer or a paragraph to answer about it. And then fourth, reading labs. And I will explain that as we go. All right, let's start with the word wall. Every week, at the beginning of the week, okay, if I have you on a Monday, then this will be on Monday. If the first time I have you during the week is on a Tuesday, then you'll receive this on a Tuesday. You will have a weekly vocabulary list, anywhere from 5 to 10 vocabulary words that you'll find in this week's reading. So these are some words that I just randomly put on a list just as an example for you. Number 1, interesting. Number 2, chic. Number 3, naughty. Number 4, assistant. And number 5, cowardly. Okay, each of you will have this word wall. I'll send it to you. You'll have it saved on your computer. And what you'll do is here, let's go back. Sorry about that. What you'll do is here, where it says vocabulary word, all you'll do is type in the word. So for instance, number 1 is interesting. You will type interesting in that box just exactly as it's found on your vocabulary list. If you go on over to the next column, we have something called that I'm calling the Spanish equivalent. So if it helps you to make a connection between the word as it is in English and its Spanish translation, then you may, this column is optional. We'll talk about this. You may put the Spanish word for interesting in that second column. And to tell you a secret, that will actually kind of help me too as a person who only speaks English. That will kind of help me make a connection between those 2 words. But if that helps you, you do that. Number 3, what part of speech is the word interesting? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adverb? Is it an adjective? And if you look up the word, you'll find the part of speech as part of the definition of it. The 4th column, just give me a short definition. Don't copy and paste a long definition that you found on Google. It's fine to use a dictionary or to use Google to look up the definition, but you need to shorten it into something like 1 sentence or just a couple words that will give us an idea of what the word interesting means. And then for this last column, you need to find a picture example. We'll talk about being able to take snips from our computer screens and save them, and so that you can put it here in this box. But you'll find a picture. You can use Google Images. You can use anything really. Find a picture that best explains the word interesting. Okay, and so you would do this for every single word on your vocabulary list. And we'll talk about that some more. But that's what it is, just kind of in a nutshell. Number 2, every time that you come to class, on the first thing that you'll see on the board when you log in is a quote of the day or a question of the day. So for instance, and this is one that we've all heard before. What goes around comes around. All right. And that's a quote. That's a proverb, meaning it's been passed down by mouth, right? From generation to generation. And you'll answer four main questions. Okay. What do you think this quote means? And if you're not sure, if you don't know, you can ask someone, you can look it up. I'd like you to make up or find an example of it. You'll say whether you agree with it or disagree, and then you have to tell why you agree or disagree. So for instance, if I was to answer this first one, what do you think this quote means? Well, I think it means, and I would actually type this in the Blackboard, I think this means that the behavior that I kind of put out in the world, how I behave in the world will have an effect on what I experience in the world. Okay, just off the top of my head there, but that would be what I think this quote means. And I would say, for example, my sister never does her chores. She's supposed to wash the dishes and she never washes them. So when it's time when it's time to eat, she gets in trouble because we don't have any clean dishes or something like that. So what goes around, it came right back around to her and she got in trouble for it. Okay. Now that wasn't quite the best example, but just one right off the top of my head. And then as I would say, yeah, I agree with this quote, because I've seen it happen in my own house, or I've seen it with my own eyes. So we'll need to hit all four of those. And believe me, we'll be doing this every single day. So you'll have lots of practice. Okay. But sometimes you'll have a question of the day. Sometimes it may be something like really light and silly and funny. Like, what is the best compliment that you have ever gotten? And you need to tell why it's the best. Or it can have something to do with a lesson that we've gone through in class. In which of these sentences is the comma used correctly? Sarah, comma, why did you dye your hair red? Or, Sarah, why did you, comma, dye your hair red? And you have to choose which one is correct, okay? So you may have a quote of the day, you may have a question of the day, but that is every single day. Third tool, your read and respond. This is Mrs. Atwater's favorite tool of all. I think that there's nothing more important than you being able to read something and actually understand it and put your thoughts into writing. So we'll be reading lots of things this year. We'll be reading articles and stories and plays and books. But you can bet that whatever you read about, you will write about always. Okay. And all right, that's a little more on that. I'll have this PowerPoint posted up in our Blackboard so you can go back and look at that. And number 4, reading labs. All right, so we're not going to actually watch these videos now, but what I'll do is I'll link them to this picture, to this page, and I'll also post a link for them in Blackboard so that you can go into the reading lab and just look at some samples of the page and how you'll be using it. All right. The best part about these reading labs is that you can choose what you want to read about. All right. It's not like I'm giving you something about, I don't know, how mud is made. And you're like, you know what? I'm really not interested in this. I would rather read about fire trucks because I love fire trucks. Okay. You can choose what you want to read about. You need to do this for 15 minutes a day. And they also have some really fun writing and activity portions of it, some games and some things that I can kind of check up with you and determine if you're really understanding what you're reading. Okay. So the 4 tools you'll need to be successful in this class this year is your word wall, which you'll get every week, your quote or question of the day, which you'll get every single day when you show up for class, your read and respond, which will be about once or twice a week, and your reading lab, which you really should be into pretty much every day. Okay. And there we have it. I'm going to end this video. It's like 9 minutes long. But go ahead and access your reading lab sample videos so you can go in and take a look and see how that's going to go. Guys, I'm available in GChat and email. If you have any questions about these 4 tools, you let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in class.